There seems to be a consensus in the publishing community that writers should never use AI, and I completely disagree. I think what most people are talking about is using a ChatGPT interface and having ChatGPT write for you, and then compiling all of that and presenting it as your own work when it's derivative of something else. And that's not the only way to use AI. I think that is a gross simplification of what AI can do. In my case, I'm working on a speculative fiction trilogy. I've been working on it for 12 years. It's all based on my own ideas. To produce something at very high quality like that, you need a whole team. You need the writer. You also need a developmental editor. I have realized I am not a very good developmental editor of my own work. I've worked with 3 professional developmental editors over the past 12 years. The last one I worked with was an industry veteran. He knew what he was doing. It's expensive. It's very highly value added. I mean, I needed it. I needed his feedback. I needed to know, did my story hang together? Did it engage people? Were there any problems with it? And he gave me very good notes. But he didn't understand my whole cosmology. His solutions and suggestions of how to fix different things within the story were not based on the overarching vision of the whole trilogy. And there was no way really to get him completely onboarded onto my team unless I hired him full time. And that was just impossible. And so the main reason why it's taken me so long is because of developmental editing. I have enough prose probably to publish 5 books, but I wanted a really tight story. Having had the experience of working with and having paid for 3 very good developmental editors, and now working with Claude Code as a developmental editor, it's a completely different universe. This is not something that could be done with ChatGPT in a consumer interface. I tried that. ChatGPT or even Claude in the chat window can't imbibe, cannot process everything that needs to be taken into consideration for a really solid developmental edit. But Claude Code can. And that's the difference, because it can have the context of my entire world, and it can do a very solid developmental edit. Granted, there are some ways in which I need to play the role of developmental editor as well, but for most stories that don't really click, there's a development problem. There's a story spine problem, especially for new writers. So this is an indispensable tool. It's like having your own full-time developmental editor that knows your book as well as you do. It's incredible. Why aren't people doing this? Maybe because developmental editors are worried that it will take them out of business, but I completely disagree. If Paul, my last developmental editor, had this tool and he could be driving it and he could understand everything he needs to know to give me really great specific feedback on how to solve the problems he found, it would have been so much better for me. And I'd rather have him in the loop, but he's not using this. And so I can do it better by myself with Claude Code. That's one example. You also need continuity checks. Is the timeline in your whole story consistent? Do you jump around? I mean, you can just imagine all the things that you need to check that a tool that can sit inside of your entire writing vault can solve this problem for you better than a human. There's also line editing and copy editing. Nowadays, publishing companies don't put that much resource into making sure books are really well written. After you write the prose, you polish the prose. If you want a great book, you should line edit it. Again, this is really expensive to do, to find somebody that knows the craft of writing so well. My favorite book on the craft of writing is Steering the Craft by Ursula Le Guin. I cannot recommend it more. And one of the things she talks about is how prose should be very musical. She suggests creating a scansion map of your prose where you know where the stressors are. And you can make sure that the musicality of the prose matches your intent. I couldn't find a line editor that would give me that kind of feedback, but I created a tool in Claude Code that creates a scansion map for me. So when I'm doing a final read of a chapter, I can have that sitting there right beside me as I'm reading and see where the stressors are, and it helps me finish that part of the process. And then there is copy editing, where you want to make sure you're not making any unintentional grammatical mistakes. You want to make sure everything's spelled properly. And my favorite resource for that is Steven Pinker's Sense of Style. And I use all the principles from that to do a line edit. So I think the publishing industry writers are really underselling the ways in which AI can help people elevate their craft, make a much better book, create a much better structure, have it sound better. Yes, this is completely different than having AI write your book. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about using it so that you finally have a whole team to support you in the process. Are there any other writers that agree with me that are trying this, or writers that are wanting to use AI and they're scared? There's so much more than just offloading your creative ability to an AI.